And even on issue of corruption, you cannot have sustainable strategy to fight corruption with miserably paid workforce. Okay. Workers that are poorly paid are not only angry, they are susceptible to also temptation to survive. I mean, where you use corruption, also of temptations. I mean, you see it every day. You know, working people have become working beggars. You know, happy Christmas is permanent, because they are surviving on crops. So, but the bottom line is that to drive this economy, you need to be productive, and to be productive that you have motivated workforce.
Why I asked you why you go to the courts is you could have gone to the courts to compel the government to do what's supposed to do. But let's hold on with that. Let's look at the economic situation in the country, where even the minimum wage as it is, a lot of states or a lot of people have not received their salaries, and when you go to government, they say there's no money, but you're asking for an increase of even now, which has not been able to pay.
But I think we have crossed that bridge, my friend. Everybody knows that it's not because of lack of means, but largely because of unwillingness for our government, especially the state level governors, to be responsible and live to their oath of office. We've said so several times that whoever is a governor, and as an employer, not just a governor, but any employer, whether public or private sector, that employs working men and women that refuse to pay, have no business to be in business. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, you can't, I mean, nobody run businesses based on, we have crossed the stage of slavery. You know, paid employment means that you employ somebody with contract to pay, you pay him as and when due. And let me tell you, we've seen, and President Buhari has also demonstrated that willingness, that shows that when there is a will, there is a way. He has gone outside the box of the stories of the governors that they don't have money. He has also made funds available for them. You know, they've improved on public revenue now. They've made available bailouts. But even some of them who collected this money are still not paid until the workers have to fight to make sure they enforce it. So it's not lack of will to pay. You know, I mean, sorry, it's not lack of means to pay. It's lack of the will for them to do so. So what I'm saying is that cannot be an excuse. But I'm saying that this economy cannot get out of recovery with this miserable pay. The CBN report has also come out several times that there's weak demand in this economy. You know, weak demand. And the only way you can have effective, sustainable demand is for you to pay people correct salary so that they can get motivated.
How realistic is this demand, knowing full well that we've seen states? I mean, it's just recently we had the government putting in place an auditor to help audit some of the states that have had the bailout fund. If states are being bailed out not once, twice, and even some asking for more, how well do you think they can pay, say, minimum wage?
Look, Suleiman, I've told you that even much more depressed private sector.
Don't get us wrong when we ask questions like this. It's not as if anyone is saying it is right or wrong for workers to demand such.
No.
We're putting it on the perspective, on the back, you know, of what is happening in the country. We have seen states that haven't been able to pay 18,000 naira.
And I'm telling you that the same states where you see the pattern of public spending on the executive, you know, indulgences, the wastages. I mean, you look at the 2017 budget, look at some of the things that are factored there in this recession, the kind of money that have been budgeted for cars to be bought for public officers. You know, I know of a state that employed hundreds, if not thousands of advisors. You know, those are when you talk of recurrent expenditure being wasted, it's overloaded on the executive indulgences of political class. So I think what we need to do, redirect public spending for productivity. And that's why I said Chief Nwaze, you know, raised a very good point. I mean, Nigeria, a relatively poorer Nigeria. When I mean poorer, we don't have this kind of revenue, this kind of budget. We're talking of 7.8 trillion naira budget. What was the budget of Nigeria in the 70s, 80s, in the 90s? But it was a productive Nigeria that realized that the only way to be productive is to have productive workforce. And they were paying. I mean, minimum wage is part of our heritage. It has been with us even before independence. You know, during the democratic process, 1981 was the first time we brought it into being. So that was a poor Nigeria, but was paying because the government there know that we can't drive Nigeria development without motivated workforce. Now, after you now pay, then demand for correct productivity from the workers. And that was the miracle of Nigeria. So I'm saying that it's not lack of means, but the way we allocate resources for the indulgences of political class, will not make it even a value for development. Now, let me ask you this. Apart from non-payment of salary, is that the only crisis of governance we have? Look at the poor roads in the state. No water. No basic infrastructure to be done. So it is the absence of development agenda on the part of our governance that is missing. It's not lack of money. And states that are paying, it's not because they have any miracle, it's because they are concerned about the need for development of their people. And we have some state government that are paying as I went due. I even know one state that even increased minimum wage before before the governor left office. So it's about the commitment. So if there is a will, there will be the way to get it done. But what I'm even saying is that this is a legal issue. It's also an economic issue. Secondly, Nigeria also is signatory to ILO conventions 131 that says we have minimum wage. And worldwide today, key to recovery. I've just given you the example of President Obama. UK is almost every year they adjust minimum wage to reflect prevailing economic circumstances. South Africa, that has never joined minimum wage before, they are back to it now in a very big way. And I was surprised. I was discussing with the trade union in South Africa. They were debating the proposal on the table now is to have minimum wage about $300 per month. And the unions were still opposing to fight again. I said, no, this is great because our minimum wage prevailing one, as at the time we signed it, was about around $10. Now, because of massive devaluation of the currency, inflation, it has collapsed almost about $60. So it's more than due for review. And I think it's important. But the good news is that the government is also listening. The Federal Minister of Labour has promised on the eve of New Year that they will quickly constitute the minimum wage committee. And I think they should do so. Because President Buhari is almost going to complete first time in office. What will be his legacy in terms of motivating workforce? And for real economic recovery, the only way he can do so is to show that he has improved on the legacy left by his predecessor. I mean, Jonathan improved minimum wage. Obasanjo did the same thing, even though it's far from the ideal. And our proposal in 2010 was 52,000. We got 18,000. Now we're asking for 56,000. Even at that time we proposed this. If these numbers were like this, there's no way we will have proposed this. Because now the numbers have changed for the worse. I'm talking of devaluation of currency, inflation rates. So I think we have a good number on the table to negotiate.
It comes back to resources,
yeah.
Because if this sails through with all the maybe once you open talks with the government and it does sail through,